I'm going to read something for you. This is from the same book, same exact place. The Wars of the Jews by Flavius Josephus, book number 2, chapter 8. But we're going to read, I read some out the second paragraph, but I'm going to read this out the first paragraph. Because this is dealing with the census and how Judas, the Galilean, with his zealots, and they rebelled during this census. They had a little uprising during this census. But notice what it says. And now Archelaus' part of Judea was reduced into a province. Do you understand that? So this is when Archelaus, like I said, when what he was ruling over, his father's kingdom, so-called kingdom, because they, like I said, they were puppets to the Romans, was reduced into a province. Now, and it says, and Coponius was a prefect of Judea. It says, and Coponius, one of the equestrian order among the Romans, was sent as a procurator, having the power of life and death put into his hands by Caesar. Under his administration it was that a certain Galilean, whose name was Judas, prevailed with his countrymen to revolt, and said they were cowards if they would endure to pay a tax to the Romans, and would after God submit to mortal men as their lords. This man was a teacher of a peculiar sect of his own, and was not at all like the rest of those their leaders. So he said, you submit to mortal men, forcing this tax on you. Now, when you look up Coponius, he was the prefect or procurator of Judea, and he was appointed in what, the year AD 6. So this tax took place in the year AD 6. So it couldn't have happened no year before then. Once again, this tax took place during after AD 6, in or after AD 6, when Archelaus, part of Judea, was reduced to a province because Augustus had banished him or exiled him to Gaul, took him out and made his kingdom, so-called kingdom, into a province. And like I said, that was 10 years after his father died. So if Matthew talking about what's going on when Herod was alive, and Luke talking about what's going on during this tax, then they contradict each other, plain and simple. Now, we're going to go back to the bread and butter. St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 2, verse 23. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. Now, here's something interesting, because you got scholars, you can argue with this if you want to. You got scholars, so-called scholars, that'll tell you that, first of all, why was he called a Nazarene? Here's your first clue right here of what this movement was really about. Because the Nazarenes were a sect of the Essenes. It says here that he was called a Nazarene because he came from a city called Nazareth. Scholars will tell you that that's a lie. Why? Because at the time he lived, there was no city called Nazareth. But if that's the case, why they call him a Nazarene then? Reason he was called a Nazarene is because, like I said, he was a part of the group called the Essenes. They had a camp in a place called Mount Carmel, which is up in Galilee, which is right in this same area that Nazareth is supposed to have been. The word Nazarene comes from the same root word that you get Nazarite from, which means to separate, to consecrate yourself to the Most High, to live a holy lifestyle, to get away from what the world is doing. When you perform, according to Numbers, the book of Numbers, what the Nazarite vow, You separate yourself. You don't shave. You don't shave your head. No razor shall come upon his head. You don't drink no wine or no strong drink. You see what I'm saying? You don't do these things. You are holy unto the Most High. So, in other words, you live a lifestyle. So it means to separate. The root word is nazar, means to separate. You look that up in the Hebrew. And that's what these brothers did. That's what the Essenes did. They separated. You see what I'm saying? They separated from the rest of the society. They was not, just like Josephus said in the next paragraph, these last are Jews by birth and seem to have a greater affection for one another than the other sex have. It says right before that, they pretend to a severer discipline than the Pharisees and Sadducees. So they live in a real strict lifestyle, man. They didn't deal how other people dealt. Now, if you've ever read, well, I say this first. One thing the Essenes was into, first of all, Josephus says this about them. They neglect wedlock, but choose out other person's children while they are pliable and fit for learning, and esteem them to be of their kindred, and form them according to their own manner. So they raise other folks' children. But now, like I said, they don't deal with marriage. Notice what he said. They do not absolutely deny the fitness of marriage and the succession of mankind thereby, but they guard against the lascivious behavior of women and are persuaded that none of them preserve their fidelity to one man. In other words, they was like, bitches ain't shit. Bitch ain't gonna be faithful, so fuck that bitch. So they was like that. You know how niggas say that today. So they ain't trusted the woman was gonna be faithful to her husband. They like, well, these women, they ain't right. Just like a lot of brothers today that's in the teaching, they say, well, we're not gonna deal with no woman. And I understand that, But see, they raised other people's children. So the scene went into getting married. When did you read about Jesus or John the Baptist having a woman? You ain't never read about that. I know they got the Da Vinci Code and all that, but look, in the Gospels, you don't never read about them having no woman. That's another clue right there. But you got further clues. They raised other people's children. The Essenes headquarters, I know a lot of you have heard about this desert community that they had called Qumran. And now, yeah, they was out in the desert, and that's where they found the so-called Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls is at this community called Qumran. Now, that's, like I said, that's out in the desert or the wilderness. What was John the Baptist preaching? He was preaching out in the wilderness. You see what I'm saying? What was his message? He came from the wilderness preaching. What was his message? His message was repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. What was the message of so-called Jesus Christ? Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. When he sent his apostles out, when he first chose his 12 apostles, what did he send them out to preach? The kingdom of heaven is at hand. See, the Pharisees and Sadducees wasn't teaching that, but the Essenes, they were teaching that. They even had the scroll. They were talking about the kingdom of heaven, the Messiah gonna come, and we're gonna fight. They had the war scroll, and they was gonna fight the children of darkness. You see? So that's what they was into. They was talking about Armageddon. They were talking about the prophecy. They were talking about the end of the world, kingdom coming. That's where they got this. That's another clue for you.